In December 2012, just a few days after the tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut, the rather infamous Westboro Baptist Church of Topeka, Kansas, they announced plans that they would protest at a vigil for the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting. Not too long after their announcement, a barrage of personal contact information for Westboro Baptist Church members turned up online. The Twitter account for the Westboro Baptist Church's leader was hacked. The Westboro Baptist Church's website was taken down off the internet. It was an all-out cyber attack. And the self-proclaimed proud perpetrators of this attack on the Westboro Baptist Church folks was the hacker group that calls itself Anonymous. In the end, the Westboro folks decided that they would not show up to protest the vigil for the people who were killed at Sandy Hook. But the Westboro Baptist Church folks have not escaped the wrath of Anonymous since then. Anonymous continues to run a fake Facebook account dedicated to the group. It's called the Official Westboro Baptist Church Facebook page, y'all. Church leaders, Marilyn Manson, Anonymous, and Captain Crunch. The cover photo reads, "God loves cats." This, in very small part, is what Anonymous does. And Anonymous is a loose collective of anonymous vigilante hackers from across the globe. And what they do is they retaliate against pretty much anybody they don't like for any reason. And they do it on their own, often crude, but usually pretty effective terms. In 2011, during the Arab Spring protests, Anonymous took responsibility for hacking several government websites for the Tunisian government. They hacked those websites in support of the Arab Spring protesters. In the past, Anonymous has also successfully shut down big, well-protected corporate websites like PayPal and Visa and MasterCard. And those sort of hacks are not an easy thing to do. After members of a local Klan group, a local KKK group, threatened protesters in Ferguson, Missouri a few months ago, Anonymous launched attacks against a Klan-affiliated website and 2 Twitter accounts affiliated with the Klan, announcing, quote, "To the protesters, do not be afraid. We are here for you, and we will protect and serve you. We are the law now." Agree with their cause du jour or not, Anonymous really does just do it their own way. Anonymous now appears to have aligned itself in support of the victims of the Charlie Hebdo massacre in France. On Friday's show, we reported that Anonymous had posted online this sort of grainy, spooky video threatening that in retaliation for the terrorist attacks in France, Anonymous would basically destroy the online presence, the web presence and the social media presence of the terrorist groups responsible for the French attacks. This video was posted on Friday. It had the guy wearing the Guy Fawkes mask, which is sort of the symbol of Anonymous. Essentially, it shows the guy acting out this monologue, even though you can't see his face moving because he's wearing the mask. But he makes these threats against ISIS and al-Qaeda, and he uses a computerized voice in order to make the threats. That video that they released on Friday, the voice that they used in the video was speaking French. It was a French language video. That was released on Friday. Now, Anonymous has released a new, much slicker version, as you can see, of the same threat. But this time, the guy wearing the mask is speaking English. The video is much less grainy. It is just as spooky, has higher production values. And in fact, the part where the guy talks, it's preceded by this long montage of moving images about the response in France to the terrorist attacks there. That said, by the time you get to the end of the message, it's basically the same. Like the earlier video, it ends with a threat against the terrorist groups.
Any organizations and enterprises linked to those terrorist attacks should expect a massive reaction from Anonymous. We are tracking you down. We will find you and not leave you any rest.
After releasing that video, Anonymous then posted online this big long list of more than 70 Twitter accounts, which they basically invited their members and their followers to target for alleged links to terrorism. They then also released this shorter list of websites with basically the same implied message to their followers. I mean, Anonymous is always described as a loosely organized collective of hackers from around the world. It seems like part of the way they're mounting this attack on terrorist groups in revenge for the French attacks is that they have posted this list, not just to the Twitter accounts, but also those websites, posting that list and essentially pointing their own members and followers at that list of websites so that their own followers and members go after those websites and shut them down. Just before we went to air, a bunch of the websites on that list, not all of them, but a bunch of the websites on that list did seem to be down. Either they just time out when you try to get to them, or it looks like their servers have just been overwhelmed, which is one of the most simple ways that hackers take down websites online. One particular website, though, Ansar al-Haq, that appears to have been singled out for special treatment by Anonymous. That website didn't just get a denial of service attack today. They got all of their would-be viewers redirected to a very cute, super fast little search engine called DuckDuckGo. So you try to go to Ansar al-Haq, and instead you get to DuckDuckGo, which is nice. Ansar al-Haq has been described as being an online hub specifically for French Islamic extremists. So that may be why they received this special hacking attention today from Anonymous. And that hack appears to have stayed up all day. So there's a little bit of vigilante justice operating around this story now, for all that implies. But this hack, right, and this anonymous attack on terrorist groups and their operations online, this is territory where ISIS and al-Qaeda and these other groups that they're targeting are pretty well versed, right? This isn't a one-sided fight. It was a really strange story that happened in Albuquerque, New Mexico over the Christmas break. It happened on Christmas Eve, was first reported on Christmas Day. It seemed like a complete outlier, almost a funny story at the time that it happened. But suddenly today, that story became more relevant and less funny. Something that happened on Christmas Eve to the website of the Albuquerque News Journal newspaper. The website got hacked by somebody who was apparently an ISIS sympathizer or who claimed to represent the ISIS terrorist group. Why did they attack the Albuquerque News Journal? No idea, no explanation. That was sort of part of what was funny about it. Why pick that paper among all the papers in the world? That attack was on Christmas Eve. They hijacked an article on the Albuquerque News Journal website and replaced the existing article with this one: "Christmas will never be merry any longer," which is ridiculous. And they posted stuff like this: "You'll see no mercy, infidels. We are already here. We are in your PCs, in each house, in each office. With Allah's permission, we begin with Albuquerque." No offense to Albuquerque, but why would anybody begin with Albuquerque? Were they just going alphabetically, like skipped Akron? It was weird. It seemed like it's such an outlier, right? Such a weird story when that happened on Christmas Eve. But then last week, round two, it happened again. And it was the same imagery, as you can see, some of the same language, "I love you, ISIS," cyber caliphate, and all that same stuff. Same stuff that was used in that attack on Christmas Eve. But the attack last Tuesday, I should say, they also changed the banners, as I say, to say cyber caliphate, showing this guy wear the scarf over his head, and "I love you, ISIS." So that all looks the same imagery from the two attacks. Same language appeared in the second round of hacking last week on Tuesday. And again, on Tuesday, when we got round two, again, it was the Albuquerque News Journal that got attacked. Still nobody understands why. But when we got round two, we also saw a random TV station in Salisbury, Maryland get attacked. WBOC TV, which is the CBS affiliate in Salisbury, Maryland. When they got, the group had posted this sort of weird message on Christmas Eve. Right? And then in the second attack last week, they posted a very similar message, not referencing Christmas this time, but a New Year's message. "Infidels, New Year will make you suffer." That was posted on the WBOC TV station Twitter account last week. That same message was also posted on the website of the Albuquerque News Journal last week. I should mention, though, that even though the attackers managed to get their "I love ISIS" guy and their cyber caliphate message and the picture of the guy in the scarf, right? They managed to get all that stuff up there again. They managed to take over the Twitter accounts and everything the way they had done the first time around. When they tried to post this article on the Albuquerque News Journal website, look, they couldn't defeat the paywall. So they're able to do all of this stuff to the online presence of this newspaper. But if you wanted to read the article that they posted called "Infidels, New Year will make you suffer," you still had to click through the consumer questionnaire on the newspaper paywall in order to read that article. Even international jihadist hacking has its technical limits, and the technical limit is that they can't get around the paywall. So it's weird, right? In some ways, it's funny. Funny, strange, as in an Albuquerque newspaper and a Salisbury, Maryland TV station? Why did they get picked? What's that about? It's also, laugh out loud funny in terms of them not being able to defeat the paywall and the stupid messages that they post. "Christmas will never be merry." Come on. I love ISIS? It's stupid stuff. There's something just sort of juvenile and blowhardy about that kind of threatening stuff that gets posted when hacks like this occur. It's worrying and it's weird, but it's also just inane. The Albuquerque newspaper and that TV station in Maryland, they still have no idea why they were targeted. But now we know that they appear to have been the warm-up for the big event, because the big event happened today. At about 12:30 Eastern time this afternoon, the Twitter account for CENTCOM was taken over by the same dumb I love ISIS picture with the guy in the scarf, the same cyber caliphate banner that had previously been used against that TV station and that newspaper in New Mexico. For 40 minutes, whoever had hijacked the CENTCOM Twitter feed used it to post taunting messages like this one to U.S. soldiers, and also pictures and links of what it said was classified information. Now, as it turns out, what looked to be Pentagon military plans for China and North Korea turned out to be not that. For example, the map that was posted of potential North Korean nuclear facilities turns out to have been lifted from the website of the Federation for American Scientists. That's where they got that from, not some classified Pentagon database somewhere. Other information that got posted included this list of retired general officers from the United States Army, including a lot of very well-known retired generals. And it's worrying to see a group like this posting personal information about retired generals from the U.S. Army. But that's also not classified information that they somehow prized out of the Pentagon's protected servers. It turns out that stuff has been publicly available if you knew where to look for it. Over the course of the 40 minutes before the Pentagon was able to get the Twitter account shut down, the account posted, we think, about 10 tweets, and they posted lots and lots and lots of files, which they said were classified military material, but they weren't. They also uploaded 2 ISIS propaganda videos to the CENTCOM YouTube page. By 1:10 this afternoon, the Pentagon appeared to be back in control of its social media accounts. Colonel Steve Warren, a Pentagon spokesman, said that nothing damaging to national security was posted by the group when they got their accounts hijacked. Colonel Warren told reporters that, quote, there's no evidence that any DoD system, computer, or network has in any way been compromised. In the Pentagon's view, he said, quote, this is little more than a cyber prank. It's an annoyance, but that's all it is. Quote, it in no way compromises our operations. This isn't our website. This is just our account. I mean, and he's right about that, right? This is Twitter that was hacked and YouTube that was hacked today. This wasn't the Pentagon's central servers. Still, it is discomforting to see the U.S. military lose control of its YouTube page and its Twitter account, right? It's still discomforting. So the Pentagon spent the afternoon today trying to convince people that this social media attack that they suffered wasn't that big a deal, nothing really dangerous, even if it was really spooky. At the same time today, New York City officials were trying to convince the public that something else that happened in social media actually is a very big deal and could potentially have really bad real-world consequences.
You may have noted that a couple of notices went out department-wide involving officer safety, but also intelligence relating to a communication that went out late Saturday on an ISIS Twitter account. This was a message from the ISIS spokesman, Sheikh Adani, who reiterated language that was posted in a thread in late September that said civilians, but also police officers, intelligence officers, and soldiers were all targets, legitimate targets, according to ISIL, and that they were asking their followers wherever they were to carry out those threats with whatever means they had available.
So the video that the deputy police commissioner there is discussing is a video that was first released in September by ISIS. It showed a leader of the group calling on ISIS sympathizers around the world to attack police and security targets in their home countries. What happened in New York today is that police drew a link between the uploading of that video last September, that ISIS video calling for attacks at home. They drew a link today between that video being released in September and a number of attacks being carried out against police and security forces in the weeks following that video's release. They specifically cited the hatchet attack on 4 New York City police officers in October, also the twin fatal attacks against soldiers in Canada a little while after that, as well as a few other incidents. They're not saying that those incidents are necessarily directly connected to ISIS having called for attacks on police and soldiers in the West, but they do say they're worried that there is a connection. And now this weekend, somebody reposted that ISIS video from September, but added to it footage from the killings this past week in France. So police now say, given the resurfacing of this video and the addition of the stuff from France, police now say they're on alert. They want law enforcement agencies and the public to be on alert that this renewed call from ISIS for low-level attacks in the West, it could be seen as a call to action in countries around the world for that group's sympathizers. Now, there's one other ISIS propaganda video that raised concerns of a different kind today, and it was this one, which was uploaded over the weekend via Twitter. This video appears to show one of the assailants from last week's attacks in France, the man who killed a policewoman before attacking a kosher market in Paris. It shows him pledging his support to ISIS and explaining why he did it. We should say that NBC News has not verified when, where, or under what circumstances this video was taken. But in the video, the assailant, he spouts propaganda while sitting under an ISIS flag that he seems to have printed out from online using a home printer. We've just blurred that out over his shoulder there. He describes his attacks as retaliation for airstrikes against ISIS in Iraq and Syria. Worryingly, though, this video also includes footage of the man's death. The video also includes, at the very beginning and the very end, screen grabs and video from the moment at which police shot and killed that man as he leapt through the front door of that kosher market at the end of the hostage siege. Now, the reason that's worrying is because the inclusion of that footage in the video showing his death clearly means that he didn't upload the video himself, right? The video was completed by somebody else other than him after his death in order for it to be posted this weekend after he was killed. Who did that? Who added the death footage to that video and then posted it? How did they have access to that video that he made before he was killed? Were they working with him all along? And there remains this important question of whether or not this is an ongoing plot, right? French police today said they are looking for as many as 6 additional suspects who are linked to the perpetrators of last week's attacks, including one who they say has been seen since the attacks driving the car that was registered to Amadi Coulibaly's widow, who's still at large, who's still being treated as a suspect in these attacks. She apparently left France and traveled to Syria via Spain and Turkey, but her car apparently is still back in France and is now being driven by somebody who French police are trying to track down. On it goes. NBC's Richard Engel joins us live next from Paris.